How you doing, YouTube squad? I missed you. My sister's looking. So I missed y'all, my YouTube friends, my YouTube advisors. So this is the VH1 Couples Retreat episode 2, Ring of Fire review. Now, I'm also late on doing my Real Housewives of Atlanta. I will do that probably later on tonight. So get into it. Now, in this particular episode, I have no fucks to give except for cussing everybody out that needs to be cussed out, because I already said this was going to be a shit show. In my first review, if you haven't seen it, I said this was going to be a shit show because this was a bootleg marriage boot camp, because it's coming off that way. It doesn't mean that AJ is not putting her effort or her best foot forward to try and get these couples all the way right. But some of the shit that they're saying is just not, I don't know if it's for TV or if this is really how they speak in real life. Something tells me this is really how they speak in real life, because it's just so stupid. And these women are tolerating it. I don't even feel sorry for any of them. You deserve what you're asking to stay with. So it starts off with us leaving behind Ray J and Princess, because you know that last episode, AJ had them doing their first exercise, and she was like, okay, fine. So let's talk about what the issue is between Princess and Ray J. And Princess says that they don't have sex, number one. And number two, there's like, it's not like a lust situation because sex is not involved. And that he had filed for a divorce. And Ray J just walked away and said to throw an adult tantrum because his immature ass don't know how to grow the hell up. And he's walking away throwing the tantrum. Princess is crying. And all he's doing is complaining to all the men about how Princess is supposedly trying to ruin his character and ruin his image, that she's trying to destroy him. And the only thing that he's concerned about is what his image is in the public. This is what Ray J thinks. I think he's delusional, number one, because I really think that he really feels like he's Ray J One Wish, or Ray J when the Kardashian video first came out, that popular Ray J. Bitch, you are getting old. You are not, you're basically what we consider, once you end up a Love and Hip Hop child, you are a Z-list celebrity for the most part, except for like Yandy and Keisha Cole and some of the other people that we've seen, and you know, K. Michelle. Ray J, you have not come up with a song since One Wish. We wished you would put out more music, but you did not. At this point, it's almost like he's clout chasing. He wants to do whatever is necessary to keep himself in the limelight. And apparently Princess letting the world know, by way of saying that they're getting a divorce or putting their business out there, he's worried about the way that he looks. The way that Ray J needs to worry more about how his family can be put back together. Because even Raymond and Michael Blackson has gone to talk to him in the corner to hear what he has to say. And he was explaining his situation about how she's not telling the whole truth and how she's trying to ruin his image and how she's not telling them that she's the one that filed for divorce first online. And they're walking away saying that there's a lot of growing up that he needs to do, because this is some petty ass shit. Because your concern should have been with, am I getting a divorce? What can I do to fix my family? Your concern shouldn't be, oh my gosh, she went and filed before me and I want the whole world to know that that's what happened. We don't give a damn about that shit. The fact is, you're here to fix your marriage and you're worried about shit that don't even matter. Grow the hell up. Now I understand how Tiara will be beating your ass, because apparently we know that Tiara used to use physical retaliation to get back at Ray when he would cheat on her or mess with her. She never put it on social media. From my understanding, it wasn't to the depth of what we're seeing Princess do. And no, I don't condone physical violence in the relationship, but I can see how watching Ray and seeing him walk away, you can't even get a word out with this dude without him throwing a tantrum, walking away. How, as an individual and as a wife that's spending time with you, having your kids in the same house with you, gonna be able to communicate with somebody who doesn't even sit still enough to hear what you have to say? It can get very, very frustrating. Now, with that said, is Princess crying moving my spirit? No, because I remember the first episode of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood when Tiara, as beautiful and as skinny as she was, gorgeous with her makeup and her hair and her weave looking good, and Ray J came up to her and said that he's happy with somebody else, aka Princess, and she was crying that he was leaving her, but she should have been crying tears of joy because she ain't got to deal with this bull. And we have since learned that Ray J's family actually prefers Tiara more than they prefer Princess. For whatever reason, they do. But Princess, you asked for this. This is what you wanted and you fought for this, okay? And even when the signs were there, you chose this. And you kept having babies. You didn't just have one, you had two by somebody who clearly doesn't know how to respect you. Hell, there was a freaking picture online not too long ago of him in the shower and somebody there, some girl or whatever the case is. I think it was him, either him in the shower or some girl in the shower. There was some image that made it look like he was doing something suspect, and your ass still stayed with him. So what, I don't understand why you're crying, because you still sticking with him, and neither one of you are trying to hold on to something that doesn't seem like it's gonna work. Ray J has a lot of growing up to do. He does not know how to be a husband to any damn body. He only cares about himself. He's selfish as hell. And he's delusional because he thinks that he has that many fans to be caring about his image. Boy, go off somewhere into obscurity. Now we have AJ saying that there's gonna be a game, and the game is called Stuck. And the game, the way it works is she's going to ask the question, if you're stuck and this is what you're dealing with in your marriage, you're going to stay where you're at. But if you feel like this is in your marriage that needs, this is the marriage that if you feel like it needs work and this is something you're dealing with, you stay put. If you don't feel like this is an issue in your marriage, you step forward. So if you stay, it's a problem. If you step forward, it ain't a problem. The first thing she talks about is, she says immaturity. And I'm thinking Ray's nowhere to be found because Princess is apparently married to herself and she's trying to figure out this relationship all on her own. Ray J's still in the corner sulking that he was being misrepresented in public. Shut the, whatever, bruh. But Rada stays where she's at because she realizes immaturity is something that Michael Blackson gives because he thinks everything is so freaking funny all the damn time. And then Yandy also stays, and her reasoning is that there was a lot of immaturity in how Mendici was behaving and handling her while he was in the pen and wondering what she was doing when he wasn't around. And probably because Judy was pumping a bunch of shit in his head anyway, because Judy's a shit starter. I'm sorry, but she's a damn shit starter. Then we have Princess, of course, staying where she is because we already know Ray J's immature. Delicious and Raymond do end up staying put because immaturity is something they feel like they both go through. And I like that they were understanding that this is something that's real. They weren't trying to front and have somebody walk up and pretend like immaturity is not there. Mendici walked up and Michael walked up as if it's no issue. And I'm like, y'all just need to stop playing. Every relationship has a certain level of immaturity at some point. Even mine does. Then we have, she says, lack of romance. And Delicious steps, she stays where she's at because she feels like lack of romance is a problem. Raymond steps forward because he feels like romance is not a problem. Princess is there the whole time for everything she says. She's stuck. Then we have insecurities come up. Yandy stays where she's at because it's a problem, and Mendici steps forward. Rashida stays for where she's at, and Kirk moves forward. Rada stays where she's at. I'm like, first of all, Yandy, I can understand her staying because insecurity is an issue because of the whole baby mama situation he had to deal with. And I think the other baby mama saying that he was still messing with her. There was some overlapping in their relationship. So I can see that too as well. And also the fact that she said him in DC was extremely jealous behind bars, wondering who she's with when she puts on makeup, when she gets dressed. That is a form of insecurity as well. But when we get to Rashida and Kirk stepping forward saying that he doesn't have any insecurities. I understand that how you feel like you don't have any insecurities in your marriage because you have been the one doing the cheating on national television. So of course you don't feel insecure because you have known, in your spirit that no matter how many times you cheat, no matter how many babies you have outside of marriage, Rashida's gonna be mad for all of 2 months and she's gonna take your ass back. So of course she'll be the only one that's insecure. Then we have Rada staying still where she's at because she's feeling like insecurity is also a problem because of course you've been letting everybody in your bed. Your entire bed that you share with this man is gonorrhea central. Because she says that every time that they are together, every weekend they're together, there is an additional person in their bed. And when she's not there, he has a different person in his bed. And sometimes it's repetitive, it's the same woman. The fact is, he's spreading his seed into everything that has a post that he can screw. Because he doesn't know how to be faithful or how to be in a monogamous relationship. So of course you'll be insecure because you might feel like you're not good enough, your vagina is not good enough, and your skill set is not good enough to keep that man from you and you alone. So of course you're insecure, boo. Then Michael fixes his mouth and says something like, I don't have any insecurity. I think I'm the cutest man in the world. I said, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Because confidence is a great thing. In a human being, confidence is a huge boost. But Michael Blackson, bless your deluded heart, okay? Bless you. Now, we have infidelity come up and Kirk steps forward as if that's not an issue. Infidelity and mistrust. And I was like, the motherfucking nerve. Kirk steps forward that infidelity and mistrust is not an issue in his relationship. Just 5 years ago, you had a baby on your wife from a stripper at a club. Not that strippers are less than or that they don't deserve to be treated like respectable women. There's some women there that swallow their pride and get on a pole because they feel like that's what's necessary for them to feed their family. There's nothing wrong with that. What pisses me off and why I say it's just stripper is the fact that they're there to entertain. You're there to give them money. You are basically you're their trick. You got a whole wife at home and who you could have been with, or even hell, you could have masturbated. Instead, you chose to go to a strip club and sleep with an individual that has several other tricks. Like, you have no respect for yourself. And as my husband, it's not only embarrassing, but it's gonna strike something in your spirit as a wife. Like that's the person that you're gonna go to because you're seeking some kind of whatever attention you feel like I'm not giving you. For me, if my husband goes to a prostitute and that's who he uses to cheat on me, I will feel some type of way about it. Not because I think the prostitute is I'm better than a prostitute. It's just that for me, I will feel like you don't respect me enough because in my mind, that individual's career of choice puts her in a position to where she's giving it up to multiple people. For you to choose that individual over me, who's chosen to respect you and preserve myself for you and you alone, it really hits home when you think about it. It really does. And yes, I know prostitutes. I've met several prostitutes. I have a lot of respect for them. I don't care about their profession, but if my husband seeks that out, I'm going to feel some type of way because I feel like if I'm respecting you, why would you disrespect me in that way? Because you're not only opening yourself to have a baby, which you did, but you're opening yourself to bring back certain illnesses to me because that profession just make it easier for you to catch something because of what they're doing for a living. You just don't give a damn. Did you wrap up? You obviously didn't strap up if there's a baby involved. You just didn't think about me at all. It's just levels of disrespect and it just keeps piling on. And your ass, when they mention infidelity and mistructs, has the audacity to step forward as if this does not apply to you. I already said that Rashida is extremely insecure in her spirit because only an insecure individual will tolerate all the other stuff that Kirk is doing and how loudly he embarrasses her. What I feel like Kirk needs to do with his 3 earrings is go and get a 4th one. This one needs to come with some sense because it seems like the things that he does sometimes, he's not even conscious about how stupid it makes him look. Then we had they're back at their rooms. And then Kirk is in the room feeling himself. She asks him, she says, how do you feel about the exercise? Because she's trying to gauge what his thought process was when he stepped forward, like they didn't have mistrust and infidelity issues. And Kirk says, I was looking at all the other couples and I felt bad for them. Because Kirk, I told y'all before, in his head is convinced that 20-some years of some bullshit ass relationship that they have formed makes him somewhat better than the newly relationships that they're building. The way that I saw it is Delicious and Raymond, they're newlyweds, they had yet to step up for infidelity. To me, they have more respect in their short marriage than you and your 20 years of stupidity and 20 years of fuckery. Because the way I see it is Kirk really thinks that years is what matters in a marriage. The years don't matter because we have had several situations where abuse is involved, rape is involved, all these nonsense is involved, and the person has chosen to stay in the marriage because they feel like there's no way out, or they're trying to convince themselves that there's something good in that relationship and holding on to something that even God himself is trying to break apart. So that time in does not make you the poster child or whatever for the person who's able to analyze other people's marriages, because your ass made the ultimate mistake. According to the scriptures, if I was to quote the scriptures, once you step out in your marriage or once you divorce somebody, the wife can leave you. And then once you guys have filed a complete divorce, you are not entitled to touch that individual ever again. Rashida has broken the code and chose to stay with you because she feels like the businesses you guys have built, the children and the family and everything you guys have done, she don't want to give up the years that she spent with you since she's been with you since high school. You're all she knows for the most part. That's why she chose to stay. But your ass is fixing your mouth to act like what you did was not that serious. Like, oh, it was only 5 years ago. 5 years is not that long when you're considering the 20 years y'all have been together. That's almost half of your relationship. And you out here feeling sorry for other people. Feel sorry for your damn self. How about that? Because right now, I don't know whether it's a ignorance issue or whether it's a gaslighting issue where some men or some women or people feel like maybe if I keep saying this and saying this and saying this, this person will start believing it. So if I keep saying that, well, what I did was just a long time ago, it wasn't that serious or wasn't that bad, or it's been a while. If you say you forgive me, get over it. That if you keep repeating that, then that means that the other person will now start seeing you with a clean slate. Kirk is really full of it because you have to understand that every time that she sees Cannon, which your ass denied in the first place as his father, because you don't want to admit that you cheated in the first place. If you're so proud about what you did, own up to it. But you lied, and you continue to lie until you were caught dead-handed because Jasmine was going to sit there and let her son be raised without a father, which you were ready to do. Are you serious? And you're sitting up here feeling sorry for other people? You are sorry. Your entire existence is sorry. How about that? Now, Delicious talks about what I'm thinking, where when they mentioned infidelity, how everybody was looking at Kirk and Rashida about what they're going to do because the whole world knew you cheated. And he just stepped forward because he looked like he looked stupid. Then we had Princess in the room crying because she's crying about her relationship and everything. Meanwhile, Ray J is over there apologizing to the camera instead of actually going to apologize to his wife for embarrassing her. Ray J does not give a damn. And in his little video monologue, he's like, forgive me and pray for me. Boy, shut the hell up. Pray for your damn self. How about that? Nobody has time to pray for your little stupid ass. Then we have, which I'm going to skip a few scenes and get to Mendici and Raymond. And it says that they're talking about crimes and their time that they spent in prison. And Mendici asked him, how does it feel, you know, for being exonerated for a crime you didn't commit? And I said before, for the Central Park Five, Raymond was one of the Central Park Five kids that were convicted of allegedly rape or supposedly raping a white American woman. I think it was like in a park or something, and then leaving her for dead. I know she didn't die, but that was the idea, is that it was an attempted murder situation in addition to rape, right? Now, Raymond's family being poor, along with the other victims that were now charged for a crime they didn't commit, they were literally taken advantage of by the system. They were interrogated for hours as children and lied to. They admitted to a crime they didn't commit, and I believe he spent about 14 or so years behind bars. Too damn long. So to spend that amount of time as a minor and then come out, there's a certain level of institutionalization that happens because you're still at your maturing stages. And then with Mendici being an adult, being grown, he was charged to spend 5 years. He spent 4 years and some change. And they talk about the little, the little mannerisms that come out with you when you've been in such a regimented environment. Now, with that said, you see Delicious and Yeti talking about what they're experiencing with their other half coming out. Delicious said that sometimes they'll be up at 2 in the morning or 4 a.m. in the morning because they used to do that shit. Sometimes the guards do it to be assholes, or they do it because they want to stop whatever it is that's supposed to go down in the yard. Who knows? But Yandy talks about how Mendici's kind of flinches in his sleep because it's almost like he's on go. You don't know what's going to happen to you. Now, this situation in this conversation was personal to me, okay? And I'm going to tell y'all, because I usually plug in certain facts based on my life experiences and my reviews, because I think that it helps people and it teaches you something. For me, my husband was behind bars for almost 6 years. And my husband grew up in a very abusive environment. He saw his father, beating the hell out of his mother, and poor woman, she's barely like 5'5". Bless her heart, she never called the cops. She just took it, and he got used to seeing that happen constantly. And when a child sees things like that, communicating with a woman or having a relationship with a woman, there's a higher chance of a person repeating what he sees, because his father wasn't just abusive to his mom, he was also abusive to him and his children. And the things that he remembers, it wasn't just physical, it was also emotional, it was also demeaning. And so by the time he got to his preteens or early teens, he was already in and out of juvenile hall, in the streets, around pimps, around hoes, being around people who have cocaine, crackheads, all that stuff. And so that was the gang life that he basically was leading towards, because that's what he grew up in, and his environment just wasn't stable. He would be gone for weeks and don't nobody know where he was. I was in high school back then. I ran into him in high school for like a couple days, but he was ditching at that point. So we didn't even interact. We met about 10 years or so later after I graduated, because I guess God realized that he's now in the mature mindset to be able to have a relationship with somebody like me, because I wasn't going to deal with his foolery. So by the time he got to about 18, he was charged with armed robbery, went with some idiot friends that were just barely 18, tried to get some quick cash, rob somebody, and he was charged, and he spent a year in jail because it was one of his first adult offenses. He came out and he was on probation. And when you're on probation, you given a certain time where you got to be on probation, whether 4 or 5 years. Now, in that time period, you are not allowed in any way, shape, or form to violate. Otherwise, it could be a bigger issue, because that means that you haven't learned your lesson yet. That was his way out. By then, my husband had already had almost, I believe he was like 2 or 3 children by then, and he wasn't even the age of 21 years old. And the women he chose to procreate with, 2 of them were white. One of them was white and Hispanic. The other one was full on white. And I said, now I'm trying to think about it. I don't know how he got himself with these types of individuals, but he was with them. The first baby mom was white and Hispanic. He had a son with her. And to my understanding, he got custody of that boy because the things that were going on her end just were not something a mother could do. And if you guys know about child support or how the court works, it is extremely difficult in this country for a man to get full custody of their child unless the woman's really doing something janky. He did. And while he was in a relationship with his other white mama, the 2 women started communicating with each other, and somehow the other mom, the white and Hispanic mom, was able to convince the other white mom that he would also take their daughter away from her in the future. There was still some cheating back and forth. He was young and mature, and they knew this man was on probation, and they came up with a plan. She was going to feed him some information about what's going on in their house to get his son away to go back to her. And it just became like this clusterfuck of a mess. My understanding of what I read from the court papers is he found out about it. He went to confront his, at the time, girlfriend. And a huge fight broke out, argument broke out. She hit him, he retaliated. He didn't punch her or hit her, but he did manhandle her in a way that a man should never handle a woman. And he did say that to me, something that he should have never done, being that he grew up in that environment. This is what he, what he thought was okay. The problem I have with it is he chose to leave the environment when she said that she was going to call his probation officer, because that was always a thing. I'll call your probation officer. That was always a threat that they would, lord over his head. He left. A few hours later, she called the first baby mama to come to his house, come to her house, make it look like she had more scratches on her body. She had all these things on her neck because he refused to come back to her, saying he was done with her. They both called the police, filed a police report hours later, knowing this man was on probation. Now, the thing about it is they thought that he was just going to go to jail for one day, and it would be enough for her to go to court and get the custody of the son back, and for her to retain permanent custody. They just thought it was a game. They thought it was a game, not realizing the depth of what they've done. But once that police report is filed, you've now, whether it's false or not, if it's false, you committed a huge crime. He ends up going to court. Of course, the prosecutors are there to give you the worst sentence they could give you. And there's a black man with kids. He got baby mama. He has an extensive juvenile record. He's on probation for armed robbery. They're going to try to give you the worst 10, 15 years, however many years they could pile on. They were going to try to pile it on. So he solicited them and said, look, y'all think this is a joke. They're about to give me this. And I didn't even do half the stuff you guys were over here saying that I did. The first white mama, the white and Hispanic, took the stance. I read the court records, saying she actually admitted on the stand that they had made up this whole situation to try and get him in trouble on purpose. The prosecutor now said that the other white woman, the one who actually is claiming all these beatings happened to her, needed to be the one to recant and take the story back and say it was a lie. But to do that, who would say that on the stand? That means that she had committed perjury. She had lied to the police. She'll be facing criminal charges. Instead, this bitch came on the stand with a letter and tears, saying that she was going to file a restraining order, that she's scared for her life, and that he had some gang members threatening. I mean, it was just a mess. My husband got 6 years. He spent a little bit over 5 years in prison. By the time he and I started contacting each other, he was on his way out. Or the way he contacted, he was on his way out. And it was time, because he said he was ready to live his life. When he came out, this heifer and both these women, I met them. At first, I thought it was a joke. Like, this is not even seriously. This is not how a normal human being treats other human beings. You just don't do something like that. You just don't make up stuff when you know somebody's situation is already delicate. They came out pretending like nothing happened, laughing, trying to kiki in his face, and he wasn't trying to deal with him because he was on parole. I'm not dealing with y'all because y'all fucked with me when I was on probation. I'm not dealing with you. Then the other white mom decided that she was going to send him a text message or whatever the case is on Facebook, wherever she sent it, talking about, I'm so sorry for what I did to you a few years ago. He had to go to court, child support court and everything. And I had to sit there and watch the judge look at her and say, are you sure you feel safe, ma'am, for him to be around his daughter? Are you sure? And this man is the type of man, being with him, that will work bend over backwards for all his children, which is one of the reasons why I fell in love with him. Because even while he was in prison, he was able to still retain relationship with his kids to where if he speaks, they listen. I'm sitting up here looking at these women who thought that my husband was going to be some stereotypical black guy, and because they were of the race that they were, they manipulated the system and took years from his life. And when he came to me, it was like what Delicious and Yandy were describing. He would be waking up at 4 a.m, sometimes 3 a.m. He would be out there doing like prison push-ups. He would do like 500 push-ups, 500 squats, 500 sit-ups. He'd be doing pull-ups. I mean, he was like swole, okay? And he'll be running like 8 to 10 miles. I'm like, who does this? This is like half a marathon. That's how he was in the beginning. And he was quick. Whenever there was something, some little thing that could get him mad, he was ready to fight. Not just argue, baby, just fight. Okay, and I mean fight. And I used to sit there and be like, what's wrong with you? It's not that serious. He'd be like, I will match your fucking aggression. I'm just like, woo, okay. I had to basically teach him how to calm himself down and how to handle situations better. But that was like a struggle, because when you spend time in that environment, and he's telling me things that he's seen people being stabbed next to him, he's seen people being choked to death, and hell, before he came out, they had installed a condom machine inside the thing, and you would wonder who's, y'all need to use your brain. I mean, who they're gonna try to screw to avoid, not necessarily because they wanted to help them make sure diseases didn't spread. They just didn't want to get sued, because there was a whole issue with somebody getting raped in prison and getting HIV, and so they were suing them for not protecting them from that situation. So they just put a condom machine in there. So there's certain things that happen in that environment that can really traumatize somebody, and it's not a joke. with Raymond being accused 14 years of a charge he didn't even commit and having to be in that environment as a child, and then with my husband having to tolerate two women who knew he already had a prior and decided to milk the situation, not realizing the depth of their actions and just thinking that it's just cool. 5 years is not a little tiny thing. You got Mendici, who deliberately committed a crime but had to face whatever he had to face for it, but I think his crime was like weed. I don't know if I'm wrong. I think Mendici's crime was like selling weed or something like that. But now we got white folks out here trying to make money off legal weed. We got people sitting in prison for 15, 20 years for carrying pounds and pounds of weed. When y'all are making it legal, now you're trying to make money off of things that you got black bodies sent behind bars for. These things aren't a joke. So when I'm sitting up here and I'm hearing what Raymond is saying about his life and how he deals with things and how he still has those type of things that, you know, that's great him, is really sad to listen to. But I just want y'all to understand that for me, watching that, it was personal because I know what they're talking about. I experienced it too. And it's just so sad, you know, because it's not something you can do. You can't do anything about it. This is just, you just kind of had to just wait it out and be their support system the whole time. And it's very, very difficult. Now we have the question that AJ had asked them. If you lose your memory or your spouse, what's the first thing you would tell them? And Rada says, I'm going to tell Michael that he has a big dick. I said, Rada, this is why you don't get any respect. Because this was a serious question and that was your answer. So you're just as much of a joke as he is. So be happy with what you got, because everything reverts to sex. You never say anything that's of substance in order for you to get substance from this man. Everything is about sex, so that's what you are, a sex object. Then we have Ray J and Princess, and Ray J was nice enough to say that he would talk about the family, say these are your kids, and Princess said something like in the movies that was kind of cute where he said, I'll make you fall in love with me all over again, which is like what we saw in 50 First Dates, the movie with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, which was hilarious to me. And then I thought, well, what would I say to my husband if he lost his memory and I wanted to him to, I would be like, listen, for me, the first thing I would say is, I know you don't trust me. I know you don't know me, but I need you to understand that I'm your wife and I will have your back till the end. So just ride with me. You know, like I will try to make him comfortable with at least me, because he doesn't remember any damn thing, you know, but Ray J did good in that situation. Princess, I don't know. I don't know. And then Rada, girl, just shut up. Now we have Rashida and Kirk. Kirk is like, hell, you already have bad memory now. I was like, of course she does. She forgot that you cheated on her. That's why she keeps staying with your ass. Now we have Ray J deciding that he wants to go talk with AJ privately. And this entire conversation was just ridiculous, because I know that Ray J just only went there for the sole purpose of trying to do what he thought was vindicating himself on a television show without Princess there to contradict everything that comes out of his mouth. That was the only reason he decided to do that one-on-one, except it backfired. He sat down and the first thing he wanted to say was, the reason I walked away and the reason why I was so upset is because of the divorce story. Princess did not say that she filed for divorce first without telling me before I filed for divorce. So what you trying to admit, that your ass was just being petty? I don't understand what the purpose of this nonsense he's bringing up is. The more you keep talking, the dumber you sound. And AJ probably peeped that nonsense, because she's sitting up here like, this is the same immaturity that Princess is talking about. Why the hell do you think that this is what you want to talk to me about when we're here to fix your marriage? Why don't you come and ask me questions like, what can I do better? I see that my wife is hurt. What can I do better? Instead, you want to sit up here and complain as if your ass is the victim when there are two kids involved that y'all didn't sit up there and made. Then we had AJ asking him, well, if this is how your relationship is, why'd you stay with her? Ray J gets up and is like, yeah, you're right. You just answered my question. Why am I staying with her? And AJ's like, yo, the conversation's not over. He's like, it is for me. And she's like, yo, when you're having a conversation with someone, especially when you're the one who requested to talk to me, you need to at least make sure that when the conversation ends, it is a mutual agreement. You don't decide the conversation is over because you're in your damn feelings. You asked to talk to me, you have to be able to hear what I have to say in all honesty. But Ray J sits up there, stands up, acting childish. She convinces him like a mother would talk to a child. Please sit down. Please, let's talk about this. Like you would talk, like you're trying to calm an annoying little teenager that doesn't know how to control his hormones down. He sits down and she now says, listen, you cannot be walking away from somebody when they're talking to you. That is childish, and it's not only childish, it's disrespectful. This fool says, I feel like I'm talking to Princess right now, like you just talking at me. Well, bitch, you're doing the same shit that you do to Princess to somebody else. It's not restricted to her. You obviously don't know how to respect women, period. Clearly, that's been proven multiple times. But now AJ's like, I'm not gonna deal with this bullshit. You can't just be getting up. You have to be able to sit there. Whether you're uncomfortable or whether you don't like the truth, Because he's like, you're just saying stuff to me. He said, you don't like the truth. You have to sit there and be mature enough to hear what the other person has to say, whether you like it or not. That's just what it is. Because then you can now work the way. Ray J listens to respond. He doesn't listen to absorb. And that's the problem. Now we have and her saying, you called this meeting, so I don't know why the hell, you don't want to call this meeting, whatever. He's like, I know, and I'm done. I'm just getting up. At some point, he actually picks up his phone and tried to get on his cell phone and pretend like the person isn't talking to her, which is what a child does. I'm on my phone. I'm having a conversation with you. You're deliberately being disrespectful by going to your phone. He's like, I don't know what you say. Like, that's what children do. They act like they can't hear you when they clearly hear you. It's like throwing an adult tantrum. When you're a grown person, you have to be able to look at somebody in the eye and respond to them, whether you like what they're saying or not. Then he has the audacity with his selfish ass to go on camera and say, you're supposed to coach me. You're supposed to help me. How the hell is she supposed to coach you with your ass holding up a phone and ignoring what she's saying in the first place? You have to hear in order to be able to be coached. To be a leader, you have to be a good listener. Your ass is standing behind your family when you're supposed to be leading them. You're supposed to be protecting them. You're supposed to be providing for them. All you're doing is worry about yourself. Selfish. That's what happens when you got a mama's boy who's spoiled. He still got his titty in that mouth. He needs to just pop that titty out and grow the hell up. Then he said, that's why I don't go to therapy. I said, no therapist in their right mind will want to deal with your ass anyway. Then AJ decides that she wants to disclose the conversation that her and Ray J had to the group. And she tells Princess, I just had a conversation with him and it got pretty serious and it got heated. And Princess in her confessionals basically summarizes the whole conversation and how it ran in great detail to the T. She said Ray J probably sat down and she probably said something that Ray J didn't want to hear. Ray J probably got on his phone and pretended like he wasn't hearing what she was saying. And then he just got up and walked away and said something disrespectful. Boom, girl. Yes. Then AJ asks, does anybody want to leave? And Princess says, I want to leave because I can't keep sitting up here doing these couples type exercises by myself. I'm the empty chair. I'm over here being a couple with a ghost. I can't be doing this alone. It's embarrassing, number one. And it's not productive. We're here to work together. What's the point of this? He keeps throwing a tantrum and we're on day 2. And so she gets up and she leaves and, AJ says, okay, makes sense. And then the next process begins. They call Kirk and Rashida up and AJ says, I'm going to ask the tough questions and I'm going to lead the conversation and we're going to hear what you guys are going to say. So with Kirk and Rashida, she says that AJ asked about Kirk spending time with Rashida instead of spending too much time with the business like he's doing. And Kirk says some ignorant shit like, we are here. This is the most time that we've had together. We're basically stuck. I said what I said last episode, that Kirk looks at Rashida as a business partner that's helping him. He's succeeding because of her support, her input, and her drive. And she's succeeding because his support, his input, and his drive. But when it comes to the romantic part of it, the part that really acts like a husband, he gives all that central part to another woman and not the woman that he's with. Because with her, it's all about business. With love, he goes to Jasmine or the female that he wants to screw up in some log cabin. So he's saying it as if them being together here for the first time, instead of it being something that they can do, take a break from business, really be together. He's saying that he's stuck. And Rashida's like, oh, that's how you feel? And Melissa's in the corner talking about you sinking your ass into a deeper hole. And I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because Kirk don't give a damn how Rashida feels. He says what he says. He means what he says. And he knows Rashida ain't going to go nowhere no matter how much he disrespects her. So why not? Then the infidelity comes up. And they ask Kirk in the confessionals about it. He says, it was already explained in the entire word. I'm not talking about it. That's a behavior of somebody who's still guilty, who can't really speak on it. Y'all saw Keisha Cole and Booby in Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, who was there. Booby is mature and understands the depth of pain that he had Keisha Cole go through, but it did not diminish his manhood, because he said, listen, I cheated, I disrespected her, I messed up, I did what a husband is not supposed to do, and I lost her as a result. But it was a lesson I had to learn. This was something that I had to learn to be able to grow up. And when I meet someone that is in my life as good as Keisha was, or even better, I know now how to treat them and to respect them, because I can't go through this again and I can't treat somebody like this again. And because Keisha was still able to tolerate me and not take my son away and still be there for me at my weakest point, I have the utmost respect for that woman, because she has earned it in any way, shape, or form. Not Kirk though. Kirk would sit there and act like he was a damn victim. This motherfucker had the nerve to say, I was good for 15 years, so nobody wants to give me credit for that. Didn't your ass go and try to have a twosome while she was pregnant with your baby at a Benzino's log cabin on TV? Weren't you out there screwing those girls in the bed while your wife was carrying your child? And that's after you asked her to have an abortion because you weren't ready for a baby. And not only that, you also asked her to take a paternity test that you didn't think it was your baby because you only had sex with her one time, so she couldn't get pregnant after that one time. Meanwhile, when Jasmine was chasing your ass all over town trying to get you to go ahead and take your paternity test for Cannon, you were making up shit. First you said it was some guy named Rod, or you had all these different things to say about her when it was you that was in that puss giving her a freaking apartment downstairs from your wife. But you want to claim that baby though, right? But you had your actual wife go and now take a paternity test before you were swabbing that baby behind her back, bruh. You were so disrespectful. Now you want to sit up here and say I was good for 15 years. Past positive things in the past do not give you a right to do horrible things in the present and not really take accountability for it. Your ass act like she should just be over it because you were good for 15 years, and that's in your head, because I need to look back and see what the timeline was when you were in that log cabin having a threesome. It was 5 years for Cannon. The log cabin had to be 3 years prior. So that's 8 years that you've been out here fucking around and being stupid and being an idiot. So what are you talking about? And then because he put it that way, he also says that he comes home, that for the year they weren't touching each other. She was trying to touch her. He was trying to get to her, and she'd be like, no, I don't want to. And he was trying to hear all that. He wasn't trying to deal with that. When you're married with someone and you're said I do, and it's for life and it's for better or worse, you're going to find yourself in circumstances that are not so desirable as time passes. Your job in those moments, those tough times, is to have the willpower to fight for your marriage and do whatever is necessary. I don't give a damn if she didn't touch you for 2 years. Stay your ass over there, use your left hand and make sure that you jack off. And when your left hand is not enough and you feel like you want to cheat, use your right hand. If that don't work, go buy a sex doll, but you better be at home. You don't go ahead and you go and stick your penis in another woman and make a baby and blame your wife not touching you for a year as the reason, because that's some bull. Because Rashida sat up there and said, I know that I wasn't doing what a wife is supposed to do that time. What kind of nonsense is that? She said, I don't think that it justifies it. It absolutely probably justifies it in your head, because that's the bullshit that he wants to hear. You weren't being a good wife to me at the time. Bitch, she was going through postpartum. She had a lot of stuff going on. A lot of men don't understand what happens to our body once a baby comes or as time goes. We have to push out this baby, not only stretch marks. There are a lot of sensitivity that comes out when you're going through this phase and you see all these new young 20, 21 girls who are so quick to jump on your husband's bone. It can make you feel some type of way. Plus, postpartum after you have a baby is also something that creates a lot of problems for women. You as a husband was supposed to be supportive through her pain. You were supposed to take her to therapy. You were supposed to talk through it. You were supposed to hold her at night if she needs it. You're supposed to do whatever is necessary to get her to the place where you want to be. Instead, you let her deal with that on her own, and you were chasing another woman in a damn strip club. And now you fix your mouth and say that, oh, you were good for 15 years, so nobody wants to give you credit for that. Kirk needs his ass jumped, not beat, jumped. Because the way that he speaks is as if somebody who has no respect or regard for his family. You had children you built with that woman. Now, every time that she looks at you, she's going to see that there's another woman out there that has your child. In the 15 years or so that you want credit for, you have another human being outside of our marriage that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life. That is a constant reminder of the betrayal of what you did to us as a couple. I don't give a damn if we were separated for a year. In your head, we were still in the same house. You were still coming home to our house. You were still in my bed. You still knew to try to have sex with me, right? So we were not divorced. You could have at least left the marriage in its entirety, broke up assets, go find your own house. Hell, you moved the heifer into the same building I was and had her around my family. Are you out of your damn mind? You obviously thought that you were doing something wrong if you felt like you were so justified, because you lied to me about it. You didn't want to admit it in the first place. You were caught. Carly Red had to go and do research to really get the information, and Jasmine had to show up and tell the truth for every damn body for you to even admit what you did. So clearly the separation wasn't enough for you to think that what you were doing was correct. So Kirk, shut your ass out and shut your ass up and have several seats, because right now you sound stupid as hell. And the entire time he's talking, I'm just like, I really want to go into the television screen and hit her and hit him just for her, because I feel like, no, I'm not saying that physical violence is what you're supposed to use in this situation, but damn, how do you sit there and say that to your wife that, you know, of 15 some odd years when you didn't have a kid outside the marriage, and you're just saying it nonchalant like you should be given an award or some shit like that? Because last episode he said she should be happy she's not dating somebody like Michael Blackson, who just wants all these females in bed. You might as well be in the same caliber as him. Now we have they have Michael with his pink robe and Rada come up there, And the first thing that AJ says is the side chick thing comes up. Rada tells us that they were friends with benefits to begin with in the relationship before feelings got caught up. My thing is, she mentioned that Rada, now I understand why Rada feels insecure, because Rada knows that she was in the same position that all these girls that he has in his bed were a year ago, before they decided to solidify it and make her the permanent relationship main girl. So it could be the same situation where Michael could have the same girl on tour coming into his bed, and she can now decide to have a relationship with her as well and slide in and take her place once he's done with her. Now that she recognizes that, she's trying to force Michael to now break everything apart and solidify his love for her and her alone, to where he doesn't want anybody else. Rada ain't dumb. She knows exactly what she did, but at the same time, girl, you didn't open that door. So I don't know how, the only way you can get yourself out of this is to just leave him alone and start over the right way. But then Michael decides to make a joke saying that we were having sex since the first time we met, and Rada didn't want to sound like, what people would perceive her as a hoe if she had sex on the first night, which I think is just so stupid. If you have sex, so be it. But she said that she didn't have sex with him the first night. He said, well, I had sex with you the first time we saw each other a month later. I tore that ass up. And everybody starts laughing because he is still not getting the point to him. He's trying to make a joke. They're laughing about it. And then Michael mentioned something about how, Rada mentioned something about, it's not us having a girl every now and then in our bed, it's you having a girl constantly. When I'm there on the weekend, you want another girl to be there. When you're gone and I'm not there, you want another girl to be there. It's like, when I'm not there, you still have other people there. Do you not care about me at all? That is how she's viewing it. She's not viewing it as just sex, because as a female, she's going to have emotions attached to the same man that she's been screwing for the last 2 years. Then Michael says something like her fantasy was watching me fuck another girl, that was her fantasy. And so it's called something on Pornhub. She said it was called pussy swap. I think that's the word she used. She called it, and I was just like, hold the hell up, because I got to look that up and see if that even exists, number one. Number two, if that is your fantasy, you should have let it just stay a fantasy. You should have never made it a reality, and you damn sure should have made it a reality with a man who's okay having a different girl in his bed. If anything, you should have picked a square. A man after this fantasy is over, would not even want to go out there and have different females. He probably doesn't even know how to talk to females. You just want this one fantasy to be gone and done with, and it's just going to be something he'll take to the grave as one of the highlights of his life, or a bucket list, something he can cross off. You picked a man who habitually has different women in his bed to have this fantasy display. So you have given him the impression that you're okay with being with different women in your bed. So it wouldn't matter about whether he's screwing a girl multiple times or whether he's screwing them, whether you're there or not, because you have now opened the door, a door that he's literally, the way I see it is he's sticking this thing in her, and then he's taking it out, sneaking into her. Like they're just swapping fluids. I'm like, this is not even a relationship. This is the land of gonorrhea and chlamydia, and it's a hot mess. This is a sex ship. There is no love in this situation at all. It's just about sex, 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 sex. How even AJ said, girl, do you want something serious or do you want just great sex? Michael probably has great sex, great sex expertise, because that's all he has to go with. If he is not the best, how do I say this? If he is not the best when you talk about the outside and the outward appearance, if he doesn't rank in that area, if his makeup was just fashioned differently in the pot, if he knows that, because I'm sure Michael has heard some pretty interesting things growing up. Maybe kids were being mean or whatever the case is. But if he understands that part is not where he shines, then he has to shine in another part. And being great at sex is another way for a man to shine, especially a man who has money. Now it's gone to his head. Maybe he wasn't able to get a lot of girls growing up. Now that he feels like he can't get enough of them. And Rada's in there, and he picked the girl who said she was cool with it. And Michael said something like, well, he feels like Rada only agreed to this arrangement to snag him in. And then once she fell in love, then she wants to up and change the rules and make him into an honest monogamous man. And he don't want to keep lying to her and saying, because if he's lying, then that means he's cheating. Rada needs to understand that Michael does not love him, does not love her. Michael has just said it in so many words when he said that to me. When she fell in love, then she wants to change the rules. That means that he's not in love with her. He likes having sex with her. He likes having her as the additional girl that wants to have, all these different, fantasies and stuff like that. And everybody's giggling about it and whatnot. As disgusting as it is, as all these illnesses and venereal diseases are around you out here doing something this nasty, girl, I hope that you get yourself checked constantly. because that's disgusting as hell. But she's trying to make him into somebody that he already said himself wasn't never going to be with her. He's not going to respect her in that way. And if she tries to push him to be somebody that he's not, she's going to end up heartbroken, girl. Child, you're on your own with this one, because I don't even know what to tell you what to do. Then you got Mendeecees and Yandy. And Mendeecees has stressed before how the email situation and getting a letter and why he was in prison was a huge situation for him, because when you're there and isolated and you're alone, the one thing that does get you going is know that there's somebody out there that cares and loves you. I know my husband told me that. Because when he and I started talking as friends initially, because I didn't know his circumstances, he was telling me all the situation about having kids and how he's been to the pen, how he has to start over and how he really has to go over. Now he's about to graduate with the bachelor's in engineering, electrical engineering, by the way. He got accepted into his master's program, and he's intending on doing research and eventually maneuvering into academia. He's gotten a lot of recommendations. My husband really turned his life around. But initially when he was talking to me about it, I was thinking to myself, we're just going to remain friends. I'm not interested in being in this type of situation. But in the midst of us talking, I remember a time when I was scared to talk to him on the phone because I thought I was committing a crime too. Shit, I don't want to be there next to cell block D. So I said, no, I'll send you a letter. He's like, you're not going to send me a letter. And I was just like, no, I will. So I actually sat down and wrote a letter to him. And he called me when he's like in shock. He's like, you actually wrote a letter to me for real? And he said that I was one of the first ones that have actually written a letter to him the entire time that he was in there. That he doesn't get letters. He gets calls, but he doesn't get letters. And from then on, we would still call each other, but every week or so we were expecting to have a letter from each other. And it made a difference with him being behind bars. Those letters, those emails, those calls, as crazy and as minimal as it seems, those are the little things that would trigger somebody behind bars, because they're feeling like they have all the time in the world to just be in their feelings, and everything is heightened in that environment. Everybody's pissed off. You're surrounded by a bunch of dudes. The testosterone is everywhere. Those things matter. So I understand where Mendeecees is coming from as far as feeling neglected in that regard. How you have time to go to a party and play with your friends and post pictures on Instagram, but you don't have time to send me an email or something like that, girl. However, Mendeecees, your circumstance is not the same as Raymond, where he was falsely accused for a crime he didn't commit. You were accused of a crime that you willingly committed, which means that you voluntarily put yourself behind bars. You cannot now, after you did not consider your family, you did not consider your children, you essentially made Yandy a single mother for damn near 5 years behind bars. And unlike a lot of females that I've met that would have just left that man and did the bare minimum, she sent you money at the same time while she was still having enough money to take care of those kids that you were not able to provide for while you were gone. She also handled your baby mamas who were taking your kids away to not even have time to spend time with their siblings. It was a hot ass mess. In addition to that, if she goes out to a party or goes out to a club to get one breath of fresh air after having to be a single mom with 2 growing kids, so be it. Your ass is complaining when your experience in prison is far better than a lot of people there. I know people in prison, they don't have their family giving them any money, and they're out there having to turn tricks while they're behind bars just to get something as simple as a damn soap or some noodles. Your ass is complaining about an email when you left her to be a single mom. Are you serious? So for me, I'm taking into consideration both sides. And then on top of that, Yandy asked a very pertinent question when she said, if I was in that situation, would you hold me down? And her husband fixed his mouth to say, I don't know what I would do for you if you were in that situation. And that was probably one of the most, not just hurtful, it was by far one of the most disrespectful things any husband who's been to prison and had his wife hold him down would ever say something like that. Because it's not just about the money or about the email. Yandy also had to be the one to hold the morale up of your kids for almost 5 years while you were gone, and make sure they understood that dad still loved them, dad still support them. He's just not here right now, but he's always thinking about you. I don't think that you realize how difficult that is for a single person to do when you have a father in the household and all of a sudden they're gonna be gone for 4 years and you got 2 growing kids. Amir, the daughter, they were barely 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And your oldest, and you have these mothers having to sit here and boost them up so they don't end up having some insecurities within themselves, feeling like their father just up and walked out of their lives. The woman is very, very, very crucial in how she talks to those kids and how she keeps your memory alive. And that's additional work, because it's probably hurting her heart while she's trying to explain that to some kids. And you have the audacity to say that if she goes behind bars, you can't help. I already asked my husband, because I was about to get into a fight at Starbucks when I posted that thing, when I told y'all that Asian lady that was sitting up there with her freaking business sign up, who cut somebody at Starbucks? She literally tried to cut people at Starbucks and had the nerve to cuss me out like I was the one that did something wrong. I was in my car, called my husband on the phone, and I was excuse my French, but I said a lot of colorful things, including telling her to get out the house, get out her car and catch these hands, because as much as her mouth was running, I was ready to whoop her ass. I was ready to beat the hell out of her ass, and God, she wasn't about to walk around and say, oh my gosh, this is a hate crime. I was gonna justifiably whoop her ass, as old as she is, 40-something years old, grown as ever, cutting people in line in Starbucks, and had the audacity to cuss both the guy in front of me out and me out as if she's the one in right. Talking about, it's just Starbucks. Well, bitch, if it's just Starbucks, then yo, I should have waited in line like everybody else. But when I was ready to beat her up, I called my husband, and he was like, baby, I don't want to have to bail you out of jail. I did come back and ask him, you'll bail me out of jail if I was in jail? He said, absolutely. I'm not even gonna let you sit there for a night. Now that's love. I love you, boo, because you know for a fact, regardless if I commit a crime, he'll come save me. You know, that's love right there. Even I told him, I said, because I told him a while ago, I said, it doesn't matter, God forbid. I'm not saying that you should go out there. I said, if you allegedly accused of murder or anything, I should be the first person to know, because I should be the one on your side that is there to defend you. I will protect my husband till the end, because we are a team, for better or worse. In this situation, if I was to whoop this woman's ass and go to jail, he was not going to let me even spend so much as a night in jail. So God forbid I end up in prison, that man will hold me down. Yes, God. So with Medici saying this nonsense to Yandy, I was like, Yandy, what is with all these women dating these crazy ass men? The only person I think that is decent in that whole situation is Raymond and Delicious, but they just met. And Raymond's, you know, I'm just like, damn, I haven't really seen them have a fight or have a disagreement or have a real argument. But the rest of these relationship is just, it's one thing for relationship. I know every relationship has their struggle, but I'm very tired of seeing African Americans in struggle relationships. I know that the struggle relationship also happens in every race, but since I'm Black, I'm going to speak for people that I know, people that I stick around and stuff, like the people that I hang around. A lot of people I hang around are Black, and I'm sick of them being in struggle relationships. We were not designed to be in struggle relationships. If a man is not there to respect you and respect what you bring to the table, go and find another man who will. Whether it's in your race or out of your race, there will be somebody out there that would do what he would not do. Because at this point, I'm getting tired of the social media and all these other rap music and everything, think that it's okay to be out here doing bitches and hoes and disrespecting women. You got me fucked up. Because if you're not going to come take care of me while I'm in jail, we don't need to be together in the present while I'm out of jail. It's not going to happen. Now, I understand that Medici wanted Yandy to treat him the same way that she would treat him if he was out in public. If he was out and about, she'll call him every 2 seconds. But if you were out and about and making money, she might have money enough to call somebody to babysit your kids. So she does have the energy to call you every 2 seconds. But when you have her playing mommy and daddy, I would be pissed off at you. Shit, she should be happy I'm calling you at all. You did this to us. Do you not understand that? I can't. As if he was the victim. Anyway, that was this review. We're about to see next week's episode. I'm interested to see what's it all about. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I want to see what you guys think about these episodes. I'm going to go on and watch Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion part 1. And I'm going to review that too.